Hey, it's Nikachu, and today we are going to take a look at a story about a woman who went on a date with a Magic the Gathering world champion. And who is that world champion, you might ask? Well, it's none other than the legend himself, Jon Finkel. Not only has he won Grand Prix, Pro Tours, been inducted into the Magic Hall of Fame, he's even won the Invitational to get his likeness on his own Magic the Gathering card. And his date tonight will be Alyssa Bresnik, who is a writer and journaled her encounter and shared it with the entire world. Was she impressed by Jon's nerdy prowess? Let's go find out. My brief OkCupid affair with a world champion Magic the Gathering player. This story sounds mean. It's about a girl judging a boy because he's a nerd, like so many of us, that she met on OkCupid. But that's the point. Judging people on shallow stuff is human nature. And the magic and absurdity of online dating is how immediately and directly it throws that into relief. One person's magic is another person's fingernail biting, and no profile in the world is deep enough to account for that. This article was written in 2011, and it still feels pretty fresh today. Earlier this month, I came home drunk and made an OkCupid profile. What the hell, I thought. I'm busy, I'm single, and everybody's doing it. Sure, I heard some stories, but what was the worst that could happen? And I could say, OkCupid, pretty good dating site. In fact, I've used it myself. Not sponsored, but I can tell you the results are not so bad. 2 weeks into my online dating experiment, OkCupid had broke down on me. It was like the online equivalent to hanging out alone in the dark. Every time I signed on, I was hit by a barrage of creepy messages. Damn girl, you so fine. I would like very much for me and you to be married and procreate, or your legs do look strong. Time out, boys. You gotta understand the online metagame. You hear me? The women are completely bombarded by message like, hey girl, what's your number? You want a date tonight? So you gotta be original. And Jon Finkel, he knows a thing or two about metagames, so let's see what he's cooked up. So when I saw an instant message from a guy named John that said, you should go out with me, smiley face, I was relieved. You see that, boys? That's how you do it. You need to be fresh and original, direct. John's coming out strong in the early game. He seemed normal. I gave him my name. Google away, I said. Then dinner was ready and I signed off without remembering to do the same. Foreshadowing instant regret. We met for a drink later that week. John was thin and tall, dressed in a hedge fund uniform with pale skin and pierced ears. We started talking about normal stuff. Family, work, college. I told him my brother was a gamer. And then he casually mentioned that he played Magic the Gathering. Oh my god, John, you're talking about Magic on the first date? You gotta slow down. You don't want to scare her away. Actually, he paused, I'm the world champion. Oh my god, I can't believe he's going down this route. Like, what are you gonna try to impress her with? You know, actually, I'm pretty good with my hands. You ask anyone, and I can tap all day long. Oh, by the way, I've got a giant deck. I laughed. Oh, that's a funny joke, I thought. This guy is funny. But the earnest look on his face told me he wasn't kidding. I gulped my beer and thought about Magic, that strategic collectible card game involving the wizards and spells and other detailed geekery. A long forgotten fad, like Pogs or something. Oh my god, I can't believe she just compared Magic the Gathering to Pogs. But before I could dig deeper, we had to go. John had bought us tickets for a one-man show based on the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer's life story. It was not a particularly romantic evening. Jeffrey Dahmer, American serial killer. Oh my god. You know, John, your early game is pretty strong, but the mid to end game is actually quite weak. The next day, I Googled my date, and a wealth of information flowed into my browser. A Wikipedia page, competition videos, fanboy forums comparing him to Chuck Norris. This isn't just some professional who dabbled in card games at a tender age. He's John Finkel, the man who is so widely revered in the game of Magic, he's been immortalized in his own playing card. Just like you're obligated to mention you're divorced or have a kid in your online profile, shouldn't someone also be required to disclose indisputable geeky world championship titles? But maybe it was a long time ago. We met for a round 2 later that week. At dinner, I got straight down to it. Did he still play? Yes. Strike 1. How often? Well, I'm preparing for a tournament this weekend. Strike 2. Who did he hang out with? I've met all my best friends through Magic. Strike 3. I smiled and nodded and listened. Eventually, I even felt a little bit bad that I didn't even know shit about the game. Here was a guy who had dedicated a good chunk of his life to mastering Magic on a date with a girl who can barely play solitaire. This is what happens, I thought, when you leave things out of your online profile. Later, I found out John infiltrated his way into OkCupid dates with at least 2 other people I sort of know, including one of my coworkers. Mothers, warn your daughters. This could happen to you. You think you finally found a normal bearded guy with a job, only to end up sharing goat cheese with a guy who takes you to a one-man show based on Jeffrey Dahmer's life story. Maybe I'm an OkCupid for calling it that way. Maybe I'm shallow for not being able to see past John's world title. I'll own that. But there's a larger point here. That judging people on shallow stuff, it's human nature. One person's magic is another person's fingernail biting, or sports obsession, or verbal tick. There's no snapshot in the world that can account for our snap judgment. So what did I learn? Google the out of your next online date, like hardcore. You know, this girl is pretty cute, so she has a little weight to throw around. But I can't help but feel that she's the type of woman who's like, oh, why can't I find a normal guy? And then God over there is like, I just handed you an incredibly handsome, talented hedge fund manager making like 6 to 7 figures, and you basically called him a loser. So this article went super viral at the time, and Alyssa Bereznak ended up being coined like the mean girl of the internet. But you know what? She was honest, and I think she brought up the stock of John Finkel. I think a lot of people were now hyped to date John. But it didn't end there. Being the world Magic champion that John Finkel was, he had a response. John Finkel talks to us about Gizmodo's Alyssa Bereznak, aka the Mean Girl. We reached out to Finkel and asked him a few questions of our own. He was getting ready for a tournament and was kind enough to give us answers via email. We know your privacy was violated. Are there any tips that you'd like to pass on to anyone who might encounter this type of public exposure? And John is like, my main advice would be have an army of game-loving fans who remember you for your glory days 10 years ago. Probably also, and this is good generic life advice, try not to be a jerk. I mean, if she'd posted about me being a real jerk, things might have developed differently. But I suppose this stuff could happen to anyone with a large enough Google footprint, even if they are a grade D celebrity. Do you think you were a victim of cyberbullying? And John responds, I mean, not really. 18-year-old John might have thought that, especially if it had been a girl that he had been really into or had left vulnerable to, rather than just an uneventful say goodbye forever kind of date. As of today, has she contacted you to apologize? John says, no. Playboy model Sarah Jean Underwood asked you out on Attack of the Show. Are you gonna take the offer? Sorry, I had to ask. I think the entire internet wants to see that date happen. Oh my God, John, we gotta thank Alyssa Bereznak for the free advertisement. How could you turn Sarah Jean Underwood down? And John responds, I definitely don't want to let the internet down. I would definitely be down to go on a date with her, but not if it's televised. Sorry everyone, just not my thing. Good luck on your tournament and have a good holiday weekend. John says thanks. Here's to hoping I make Grandpa proud. So after Alyssa's original article got published, a bunch of haters went on the stack, and Alyssa's response was, "Dudes, I don't think it's bad to be a dweeb. I just don't want to date someone I can't relate to. Not an attack, more of a cautionary tale." And let's not forget that one of the most important aspects to any relationship is honesty. Well, that's my video for today. What do you think of Jon Finkel's dating game? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash like for online dating and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, or your next date's gonna leave your messages on red.